Hey guys, it's Lady Raven, the Wild Witch, and I am here today to do the reading for June. Sorry, I meant to do it earlier last week, and I did not. We are also recording at the same time for the podcast, so if you're listening on the podcast, welcome. We have the same format that we're doing, but I'm going to talk more about the cards this month than I am about the planetary events. I think there's a lot of sources out there that you can get planetary information from, and also if you join the Wyld community, WYLD community.com, we have a group there called A Year and a Day, and all of the very detailed celestial events for the month is in that community. So I would welcome you to join there and look for that information there. So that gives us a little bit more time to focus on the actual reading itself, which I think is going to be pretty cool this month. So let's get started. So first of all, I want to talk to you about the deck that I'm going to be using. And I just got this deck. It's called Soul Truth Self-Awareness Card Deck, Daily Questions That Will Transform Your Life by Brianne Hovey. And here's for those of you who can see the video, this is a copy of what the box looks like for it. And what I like about this deck that's really, really cool, I'm going to just pull a kind of a random card here. On the very front of the card, she basically has like a beautiful image and just a question that you can ask yourself of what is going on with that day for you, what's going on with the issue that you're maybe questioning about, what are some of the blockages you may be experiencing, all of that. And then when you flip it in the back, it's got some words of encouragement and it's got action items. So what are the things that you can do to basically make sure that you kind of get out of that place that you're maybe stuck in, or that you keep moving the ball forward in a positive way. So there's a lot of really cool things with this deck. So if you have not seen it, check it out. It just released recently. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of times when I see these decks that are, talking about souls and very new agey kind of stuff, I'm very reluctant because a lot of times it feels very surfacey to me. But I really like this deck. When I saw it on Amazon, I was like, ooh, this looks like something I've got to try. And I'm glad that I got it because I think it's really, it's a pretty good deck. So with that being said, let's get started. So we have, once again, we're doing our pentacle reading for the month of June. And so we pull one card for each direction of our pentacle. So one card for air, which is going to rule all of the elements in our mental body, our creativity, all of the things that we are planning, looking forward to, all of that, everything that resides in the mental body, in the element of air, and in the direction of the east for the purposes of this reading. So then we move to the card of the south, which is going to be elemental fire for us. I'm following the traditional witchcraft placements of each direction because that's kind of like, I use a different placement when I'm doing ceremony, but for this particular reading, this just kind of felt like the right placement for this particular layout. So on the south, we're connecting with the energies of fire, the direction of the south, and fire is going to lead us into transformation and change. What are the things that maybe we need to change in our lives? What are the changes that maybe we're reluctant to do, things that we maybe need to start stepping into that we've been afraid? What are the things that need to change in order for us to let more positive energy into our lives? So that's what the direction of the south basically is going to cover. Then we're going to move to the direction of the west, which is going to be the element of water. And that's going to control our emotional body, which is going to be relationships with loved ones, friends, family, even co-workers, husband, wife, children. All of that is going to be ruled by our emotional body and also our emotional health. So if you have any kind of issues you're currently dealing with, like self-esteem issues, self-love, if you're struggling to kind of find your own way to accept yourself, like self-acceptance, all of that is going to be ruled in the direction of the west and the element of water. And finally, we move up to the, I shouldn't say finally, we move up to the element of earth, which for the purposes of this layout is going to be in the direction of the north with the element of earth. And this is going to rule all material things. So you're looking at health, job, career, home, all of the things basically that manifest in a physical way. That is what that field is going to basically rule for you in this reading. And then finally, I pull in the center is where I pull spirit from. Instead of pulling it at the very top, my pentacle is kind of inverted inwards. So at the center, representing the center of everything, is you, right? Where you are right now, your spirit, your connection to higher self, your connection to, spirit is something that allows us to kind of be in balance with all aspects of our lives. So this is kind of like the center focus of when we are spiritually out of balance, everything else kind of tends to be out of balance as well. So that to me is a big focus of what is the spiritual work that you're doing, connecting with your higher self, what is the inner work that you're doing this month, and this is basically what's going to rule all of that. So that is a short description of what this layout is going to be all about. So let's move into the reading itself. So moving into the reading, in the House of the East, basically, the card that I pulled is, how does my body want to move today, is the card that I pulled for that. You can see there's a beautiful feather over there. And then in the back of the card, it says, when we move, we change our state and raise our vibration. This new elevated state becomes a channel for more energy. Are you moving your body daily? Are you passionate about it? Is it time to try something new? And the action says, how does your body want to move today? Listen and joyfully do. I think I would take this one step further because we're looking at the element of East, right? So you're not looking at body and physicality. So you're talking about how does your mind basically want to move today? And to me, this talks about kind of being in a place of stagnation. So if you've been in a place of maybe not having a lot of creativity, you've got that big project you need to move forward and it's just not going and you can't think of a new way to get going, maybe it's time to breathe new life into it. Approach it from a different way. Because if you think about exercise for the physical body, what does that do? Exercise is going to get you breathing heavy. And what happens when you breathe heavy? You take in more air element. So taking in more air element into your life, maybe connect with the air element this month to see if you can get rid of those blockages, to see if you can be more creative, to see if you can plan better. The other thing I would welcome you to think about is, are there things you kind of decided not to move forward with because you thought, oh, I will never be able to reach that, so maybe I won't. Bring those things back in. Maybe those are the things that are waiting to get their chance to be able to move forward. So that is what the card of the East symbolizes. Take more of the air element in and get movement going. So don't wait for the ideas to come to you. Find a way to inspire yourself to go out and do it. It's kind of going to be a little bit of the motto for this month, which is don't wait. All the cards that I pulled are going to be kind of in that same realm. Don't wait for things to happen. Take action and do it for yourself. So basically, let's get off our butts and get some shit done. So that is the element of the East. So when we move into the South, we're talking about, once again, change, transformation, all of that. And the card that I pulled is, to whom am I comparing myself right now? And once again, it's a beautiful card with a big, beautiful feather on it. And this card says, what are you able to see in another that is only what you're able to see in another is only visible because within you it already exists. Shine a light on this feeling of not enough and see the truth. All that you need and all that you want is within you. The soul action is, today stop comparing and start creating. And this is it's kind of a trap where a lot of people get stuck in change and transformation, because especially with peer pressure being such a huge issue, and right now the society being as tribal as it is, you feel like even though you may not necessarily agree with everybody in your camp, you feel that if you don't do everything that everybody in your camp is telling you to do, you're somehow betraying them. So the idea of this is, stop comparing yourself to others and start looking to yourself. I would say that not just the gifts that you see in others are within you, but also time to look and see what it is that makes you unique, right? If something looks good on another person, and it may not necessarily look good on you, because that may be what they're meant to be doing, and you have to find out what's meant for you to do. So for example, yellow I think is a beautiful color. It looks great on people. It makes me look like I just got out of the hospital. So it's a color that I don't wear, even though there's plenty of yellow outfits and clothing and shirts and tops that I absolutely adore because I love the color yellow. But for me, it just doesn't jive. So just because you like something and because it looks good when you're looking at it and another person doesn't necessarily mean that when you take it into yourself is going to match with you, is going to jive with you, and is going to bring out the best in you. So it's time to take a minute and say, okay, are these things that I'm trying to do, am I really just trying to do them because that's what they're doing and I want to compare myself to them? Or am I really doing it because this is really what I believe to be the best thing for me to do? So those are kind of some of the things to be on the lookout for when you are trying to compare yourself to others. Change has to come from within. It comes from you. You can't change that is shown to you or prompted by the outside. Tends to be very difficult. It tends to be sometimes not really permanent, because once your settings change, that change is kind of going to go away. If you don't feel the need to keep that up anymore, you're not going to, because it's not something you truly wanted. So this month, take a deep dive into what is it that you want? What are the things that are best for you? And really analyze the things that you're trying to achieve, if they are your things, or if you're trying to mimic what you're seeing because you see somebody being happy with it and you think that that's maybe going to make yourself happy as well. So keep that in mind as you work through the energies of change in this month. Now we move to the house of the West, and as we spoke about earlier, the West means water, and it is the element of emotional body and family relationships, dynamics, all types of relationships, but it also represents life in general, like the what we think about the organicness of things, you know, organicness of life. So the card that I pulled for that is, what am I waiting for somebody else to do for me? And that's what the card looks like. Beautiful purple card. And it says, are you waiting on someone else before you can take the big leap? What if you were to take life into your own hands and forge your own unique path? Put your heart into action and ask yourself what risk you can take to move forward in your dreams. Make a decision and do it. No more waiting for others. Do it scared. Take the leap. Today's soul action. No more thinking, only doing. Be brave and you will discover what you are really made of. And really what this speaks to me a lot is of fear, right? We all have this. Think about how many times you've passed up on opportunities because of fear. Oh, I don't think I can do that. Oh, if I do that, people are going to laugh at me. Or, ooh, I'm not going to be very good at that. I shouldn't do that. And then you look back and you go, oh my God, I should have totally done that, because I totally could have done that. I could have done a better job than the person that actually did it. So fear is some of the things that really hold us back. So one of the things that I find people doing all the time is waiting for a sign. Like they say, okay, well, if I get a sign that this is the right thing for me to do, then I'm going to do it. And then I don't get the sign, and then they don't do it. And then because what that does is kind of alleviates that fear a little bit. So fear is kind of what stops you from doing things. Think about relationships. How many times do you need to have a difficult conversation with somebody that you know is not going to be pleasant, but it's necessary? And you're afraid, and you're like, oh God, what if I'm vulnerable? What if they hurt my feelings? What if I hurt their feelings? Am I going to make the situation worse if I just talk about it? Is it better to just smooth it over? And no, it's not. It's better to kind of take the leap and have that conversation that you need to have. Absolutely. So this is basically, don't wait for other people to step up and either take the opportunity from you or come to you with a solution. Look to see what fits well for you. And a lot of times when we wait to decide things, and this is a perfect example, because, you know, I struggle with that as well, really, really struggle. And I'm going to give you a quick example of what happened to me all of last year because of COVID. You know, my best friend and I kind of got separated a little bit, and we kind of started drifting apart. And I wanted to repair the relationship. She wanted to repair the relationship, but we were both kind of frozen in, ooh, what's going to happen? And because of that, ended up being a lot of miscommunication. Like, you know, things that would happen that we would say, oh, well, you know, now I'm going to take this the wrong way because of, you know, we're not communicating. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what she's thinking. So I'm going to take this the worst way possible, which is what we tend to do to ourselves when communication doesn't exist. So I learned a very big lesson from that when we finally sat down and had this conversation, and we all had a great big cry as we did it. We also realized that a lot of the things we were feeling were made up by us because we were putting meaning into things that didn't have specific meanings. And so, you know, we kind of made a vow at that point to say, you know, when we move forward, we're not going to let things fester or linger or anything. If we're feeling, you know, that our feelings are hurt, or if you're feeling that we're drifting, we're going to address it immediately so we don't run into this state again. So a lot of times when you wait for the fear to subside, or you wait for somebody else to make the first move, that other person may be waiting the same way that you are, and you've been missing out on a great opportunity to resolve something. You know, her and I spent 10 months kind of just apart and in this weird period of like, what are we going to do? And now I look back and I just kick myself because I should have stepped up and said, you know what? This is what I'm feeling. I want to get it resolved. I don't like this weirdness. Let's get it done. And I didn't. So that was a huge lesson for me in 2020 out of the many things that 2020 taught me. And I'm sure taught all of us many, many things. So that was a huge lesson. Don't wait for somebody else to do something. You step up and do it, regardless of what the outcome is going to be. Be true to who you are and true to what it is that you need. And you'll see that things are not going to end up as badly as you do, as normally we imagine in our minds. Our imaginations can go to places that normally reality is going to go, whoa, no, we're not going there. And your mind is already there. Not only there, it's past there. It's built a house. It's kind of hanging out, bought groceries, and it's basically sitting there. So just make sure that you don't do that to yourself. And keep an eye on that for this month. And especially because this month, we're going to move into, towards the end of the month, the sun is going to be moving into the sign of Cancer. So Cancer is going to bring out all of these emotional things that we tend to have. So kind of keep that in mind. Then we say in the north, when we're looking at physical, material things that we're doing. So the card that I pulled for that is, am I focused on what I am losing or what I am gaining? And that's the picture of that card, a beautiful blue color. And it says, are you going through some change? Are you scared to let go because of what you might lose? If you shifted your focus from what you might lose to what you might gain, what does that look like? Endings are actually new beginnings. Today's soul action, make a list of all the things you will gain from the change you are going through. Feel your heart, take a breath, and deepen into trust. Amazing things are coming. And that is another one that's compared to fear, right? And if you look at it, we're going back to what we talked about in the House of the East, which is for us to take action. Remove all of those things that cause us to become inactive and cause us to become passengers and passive in our own lives instead of leading active lives. So keep that in mind. All of this is kind of wrapping up in a similar kind of a theme. So what am I focused on? What I'm losing and what I'm gaining? And this is really a big deal for people who a lot of times are thinking about starting a new venture. Are you thinking about going for a new job? Are you thinking about going for a new career? Are you having medical illness and you're thinking about going for a new treatment and you're afraid that, oh, what if it doesn't work out? What if it gets worse? What if those people at the new job don't like me? What if it turns out that I really suck at this new career? What if I don't like the new career? You're never going to know until you try. And so this is the idea of focusing on, instead of making a list of all the negatives, and we are all fantastic at that. We're making lists all the time and going, what is everything that could go wrong? I'm number one on that. I'm going to analyze and overanalyze the crap out of everything that could possibly go wrong before I look at what could possibly go right and what possibilities I may be missing out on. So one of the things that, so keep in mind, so if you have a career change, take that leap, take that chance. If you have an opportunity to do something better for yourself, for your home, for your family, for your health, take that leap and stop letting fear stop you. When I started my business back in 2006, I was still working full-time and doing the business. And for the first 3 years I was in business, I ended up in the hospital every February because the stress of working full-time, and my job was technology, and it was very, very intensive. I worked normally 60 hours a week, and then going through a holiday season with a retail business, it was just really a lot, and my body would just kind of, crash at that point. I already have very severe anemia, and then that just became a horrible thing. And I knew for a long time that I needed to make a decision. I'm like, do I need to be in the business, or do I need to let my business go and just focus on my career? And it was hard because I kind of enjoyed my career. I didn't enjoy the people I worked with, but I really enjoyed the work that I did. So I hung on to that, and I hung on to that, and I missed out on so many opportunities for growth of my business. So when I finally took the leap and said, no, you know what? I'm going to trust that Spirit is going to be there for me, that it's going to catch me, that this is the way that I need to go, because I really feel that this is where I need to be. And I finally started focusing 100% on that. Then everything just opened, and I was able to kind of, like, my business started growing exponentially because I now had the energy and the sole focus of being into that business. And I missed out on it for, I sat in that maybe for almost 2 years, where after the first year, I knew that this business was going to take off and it was going to be enough to support myself. But the fear of, what if I have a bad month? What happens? I still have bills to pay. You know, how am I going to take that plunge? So it held me back from achieving so many other important things and doing so many other better things with my business that I could have done, and I could have had more success back then and really probably been in a different place in it right now than I actually am. So don't let those fears stop you. What are the opportunities coming my way? And take them. If it's something that you really want to do, if it's something that you feel is moving you in the right direction, take it. Just go for it. So that is what we're talking about in the element of earth. So finally, we move to our house of spirit, our house of, the ether, basically, the akasha, whatever it is that people that have different names for spirit. But and the card that I pulled for that is really kind of, honestly, it was a very impactful card. Even before looking at the back of the card, when I pulled it and I look at just the front of the card, it kind of slapped me in the face. But basically, this card says, "Am I willing?" And look at that. I mean, that's just, the imagery of this card is really stunning. And it's simple enough that the words just stand out, that when you look at it, the words kind of really dig into you and say, what are you willing to do? How are you stopping yourself from doing things, right? And so the back of the card says, you are on the edge of something great, which just flowed from the card that we saw in the element of water. Yes, there is risk, uncertainty, and imperfections ahead. Failure is certain, and vulnerability is a requirement. You must be brave and trust yourself more than you ever have before. You will reach the dream, but you must stretch yourself into a whole new level of belief and willingness in order to move forward with courage. Today's soul action: be brave, follow your heart's compass, and lift the lid on your own dreams. Today's mantra: it's possible. And this really ties into that manifestation of earth card that we just had. So when you move that into another level and you add the element of spirit into it, it's a matter of, if opportunities are opening up for you and spirit is telling you to move forward in that direction, take the leap. But this also being a card that's in the house of spirit, what I see a lot of the times is people that are very reluctant. They know that they're being spiritually guided to move into a new spiritual path, right? They're feeling this pull, but they sit in that entry-level stage. Sometimes I've seen people that have been in that stage for years, where they read books and they know all the things, they have the knowledge, they've read the books, but the fear, once again, says, oh my God, what if I do something wrong? What if this is not for me? What if I receive judgment from others? What if it's true and all these things happen? What if it isn't true and I've just been deluding myself? I mean, there's so many what ifs that keeps you from taking the plunge, from connecting with your new, spirit helpers that may be coming to you, from really accepting the information that you're receiving from spirit as being true information. So those are the things, the blocks that we put into ourselves. So the question is, am I willing to open up and receive? Am I willing to act on the things that I need to be acting on? Am I willing to follow a new path that's going to lead to my own personal growth? Am I willing to find happiness? And what are the things that are going to come with that? And it's difficult because uncertainty a lot of times is really more powerful than happiness and opportunity. People will sit in a romantic relationship that is bad, that is emotionally traumatic, sometimes violent, because they know that they can do that. They're in that every day. And even though they're going like, this really sucks and I hate it and I don't want to be here, they know what that looks like. The idea of moving out of that into something that looks completely foreign to you, that looks completely different than what it is that you're used to, is terrifying. And so this is part of the human condition. And if you feel that way, you are not alone. Everybody feels that way. The uncertain, the unknown holds all possibilities, but it also holds monsters as far as we're concerned. We see monsters in the dark, even from when we were kids. Fairy tales all talks about monsters hiding in your closet and hiding under your bed. This is innate fear that we have of what is lying in the darkness. And it really comes from a place of survival. If you think about early man, if you were not about to go into a dark grove where you couldn't see anything, because you didn't know if there was a lion that was going to rip your face off in that grove. So we kind of became very cautious as a matter of survival with unknown things, right? Stepping into that grove could be like, a bunch of edible berries and nuts that's going to hold you and tide your family over for another 2 or 3 months. But there could also be a bear. that's going to rip your face off. So there could be so many different things in the unknown. So we try to err on the side of caution to say, ooh, I don't know what's happening there, so I'm not going to go. So then that once again comes back to fear, the fear that limits us from moving forward in the directions that we really want to move and following what we think is really our true soul's purpose. So think about releasing some of that. A lot of people feel that stepping into a new spiritual path because they feel fear, especially if you were Christian and you move into a new path. You're like, what is my family going to say? Or even the fear of, what if everything I learned in Christianity really is true, even though I'm doubting it now? There's still that little seed. And you know, I felt that because I was raised Catholic, 10 years of Catholic school. You know, when I started stepping into this, I'm like, well, what if, you know, I mentally, I knew that this was the right thing to do. But deep down in my core, because Catholicism had been drilled into my head since I was a child for so long, I had that feeling of, ooh, God, what if I'm wrong? What if everybody else is right and I'm wrong? Because everybody around me was Catholic. What if stepping into this new pagan path is going to be a bad thing? So it takes a while to overcome that. So if you feel that, it's okay. And honestly, fear is a tool. It's there to keep you from stepping into the grove and being eaten by the lion. So what fear should prompt you to do is to do your due diligence on something new that you're trying to do. And understand what it is that you're trying to do, trying to step into. Fear should also, the other problem that people have when they first start moving into a spiritual path is all of a sudden, every thought in their head comes from spirit. You know, every little harebrained idea comes from spirit. And spirit's not going to be working on you 24/7. I mean, it really doesn't work that way. So until you understand the balance, you know, we tend to doubt everything. To rationalize everything, or to just say, oh, spirit is all the time, all spirit all the time. And then really it's kind of a mixture between those two. We are also human and have that thing in our minds that say, you know, we have thoughts too that are independent of spirit. So am I willing to receive information from spirit? Yes. Am I willing to own my own responsibility, my own thoughts on things that I'm creating is also an equally important question that you need to ask yourself as you move into this path of spirit. So a lot of things that are sitting in the am I willing. And if you look at this card sitting at the very center of our directions, am I willing to take in more elemental air and break through those creative barriers that I'm focusing? Am I willing to stop comparing myself to other people to start discovering the truth of who I am? Am I willing to step in to do the things that are important for me instead of waiting for somebody else to do them? Am I willing to focus on what I'm gaining instead of what I'm losing? Am I willing to open myself up to spirit, to open myself up to my higher self, to connect with something bigger than myself? Those are all the questions that we have this month. And the am I willing being at the center of it for me was incredibly powerful as a part of this entire reading. So that is basically the reading that I have for you guys today. And I think personally, I think this is probably one of the best readings that I've gotten for the beginning of a month. Sometimes I get some and I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know, this makes sense. But, you know, but this was so intertwined. It was so connected for me that I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm pretty much going to start using this deck a lot of times when I need to be kind of bitch slapped by the truth, because this deck does not mince words. It kind of tells you like it is. It's not really fluffy and new agey and all that a lot of people that I sometimes am afraid of. This is a kind of in your face, let's ask the hard questions and get to the core of what the work is that we need to do. So for that, I want to say thank you to Brianne Hovey for creating this deck, because it was a fantastic experience. So thank you. And so if you have any questions about this reading, be sure to join me at the Wyld community, wyldcommunity.com. It's free to join. And so you can come in there, and I'm going to post the video for this. It's going to be posted on my website, and it's going to be posted at the Wyld community. And the what do you call it? The blog, not blog, have no words today. The podcast is also going to be posted on my website, and there'll probably be a link to it from the Wyld community. So you have many different ways that you can access it from it. So if you're already subscribed to my podcast on Apple or Spotify, then you'll be able to, it'll just pop up as a new episode for you. So I hope that this was helpful for you, and I wish you many blessings, and I wish you to step into your am I willing for the month of June. And I invite you to, once you step into that, see what different changes happen to you and how things start moving in a better way for you, and obstacles start kind of magically lifting once we own and take our own power back. So am I willing to take my power back should be your mantra for this month. So take care, guys. Have a great June, and I will see you again next month for the energies for the reading for July. Bye-bye.